Welcome to the 21st ToKini Andy Kanji lesson. Today we're going to cover the meaning, building blocks, writing, historical evolution where applicable, and a story to memorize each of the following kanji. We'll also learn the parts and radicals needed for those kanji. Today, there are 2 new parts. And stick around to the end of the lesson where we'll be doing a quick quiz to help everything stick. By the way, check the pinned comment below this video to see why we are not learning readings for each kanji just yet. The signs are all pointing at us starting with a part today, though there are signs over here telling me that this is actually a Kanken level 8 and JLPT N1 kanji. Anyway, just a part for us today. It means street sign. Sorry, not sorry. Since it is also a kanji, it does have an official radical. 1, as in the kanji for 1. We'll break it down into the parts 1 and feathered broomstick. There are 2 strokes in street sign. We start with the horizontal one on top, and then draw the feathered broomstick down beneath it from right around the center. Be sure to sweep the bottom tip of the stroke up to the left. Historically, this was apparently a pictograph of a nail viewed from above, and then eventually viewed from the side. It was later used as the 4th sign in the Chinese calendar, and is now mostly seen in the naming of various areas within a municipality. We got our name from this usage because many streets or area names in cities and towns start with a number and this kanji plus I to give us a counter. For example, sanchome. For our story, we're going with pictograph of a street sign, except the post is a feathered broomstick. Remember that it's a good idea to pause the video after each story and really try to imagine it, or to create a story of your own that will help you remember the kanji even better. Make sure the story contains the meaning and every single part in some way. If you've done the ANKI deck on our website, this part may be throwing you for a loop because I just decided to add this as a part as I was making this video. I did this because after some further research, I found that the next kanji we're going to learn is very clearly based on this part or kanji. Yeah, it's a Joyo kanji too, though it's apparently not used on the JLPT. Anyway, I hope you approve of us just teaching it as a part because it means approve. It is a kanji, of course, so it has an official radical of mouth, but we can break it down into street sign and mouth. There are 5 strokes in approve. We start with the horizontal stroke on top and then draw the mouth beneath that. I kind of would have expected the feathered broomstick next, but that's not the case. After completing the mouth, we finish off by enclosing it on the right side with the feathered broomstick, or final stroke in street sign, but further off to the right than when it's in street sign. Historically, it appears that this kanji was always built from the parts we listed, street sign and mouth, with the street sign indicating reading and the mouth indicating meaning. The long and short of it is that the mouth indicated using one's mouth to express agreement or approval to do something. It's complete conjecture on my part, but combined with the history of street sign, I could totally imagine this meaning something like nailing down approval or agreement, being a verbal agreement. For our new story created just for this video, which I promise I'll add in the first update to the ANKI deck, Mouth looks up at the new street sign and expresses that he approves it. I guess they named a street after him or something, and he needs to give his approval before they officially open the street. Yeah. What's this, you may ask? Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's our first kanji for today. That's what. It means what? Like, as in the question. The interrogative what? Interrogative? Interrogative? I can't remember. The official radical of what is person on the left, and we can break it down into person on the left and approve. There are 7 strokes in what? We start with the no stroke and vertical line in person on the left, followed by the first horizontal stroke on top of approve. We then draw the mouth part in approve just like we do in that actual kanji, And after finishing the mouth, we draw the final feathered broomstick part as well, off to the right. Keep in mind that the approve part is a bit thinner than usual because it's squeezed in on the right. The earliest form of this kanji was a pictograph of a person carrying some kind of baggage over their shoulder. Like the image of a kid running away from home with a cloth bag draped over the end of a stick on their shoulder. It indicated the meaning of carrying something on one's shoulder. From the Western Zhou dynasty and onward, it became person to indicate meaning, still of carrying something on one's shoulder, and an approve part to indicate the reading. The kanji as a whole was eventually borrowed for the interrogative, what? Interrogative? Interrogative? What?
Yeah.
What? Because I enjoy the history, and I think they like it too. The aliens are asking why I bothered teaching this if it didn't really matter in the end. Let us know in the comments if you enjoy the historical parts of this video, and we'll see if we can prove the aliens wrong. Or myself wrong. What? I'm an optimistic realist. For our story, we're going with Ando-san is hiding behind a corner, watching to see what street sign Mouth turns at. I think Mouth is just looking at the street sign to approve it, though. We're talking a lot about streets today. Almost enough to make a town out of, which is what this kanji means. Town. I tried. The official radical of town is field, and with that field comes a street sign for parts. There are 7 strokes in town. We start with the slightly thinner than normal field on the left. Vertical stroke, followed by its upside down L and inner vertical stroke. We finish the field off with its inner horizontal stroke and lower horizontal stroke, closing everything up. Finally, we draw a thinner than usual street sign on the right. Horizontal 1 stroke, starting a bit below the top of the field on the left. We then draw the feathered broomstick part down a little bit lower than the bottom of the field part, being sure to sweep it up to the left a bit at the end. Historically, this has seemingly always had the same parts, with the field indicating the meaning and the street sign indicating the reading. Though I've seen explanations suggesting that the street sign, which used to mean nail, could have been used to mean dividing up the field by hitting nails at the various points of division. The kanji as a whole originally meant the piled up dirt dividing rice fields that were used as roads. In Japan, it was eventually borrowed to mean town. This might seem weird to some, but one of the first things that stood out to me when I first arrived in Japan 12 years ago and was on the train from the airport was just how many rice and vegetable fields were scattered throughout towns, right next to people's houses. So I think using this kanji for town is reasonable enough. For our story, we're going with a town is made up of fields and streets important enough to need street signs. I debated on whether I wanted to keep this and the last kanji sort of separated out from each other or not. I always used to mix them up myself though, so I decided to put them together for this series to point out the differences right from the get-go, instead of sneaking it in later and hoping you don't mix them up then. This kanji means village. Villages are usually smaller than towns, with fewer people and more spread out dwellings. That may explain why the official radical for village is tree. Add small measurement to that, and we have the parts. There are 7 strokes in village. We start with the tree on the left, in the position that usually indicates meaning. Make sure to keep it thinner than usual, sweeping out the 3rd stroke, but keeping the 4th stroke short, so as to make room for the part on the right. The part on the right is, of course, small measurement. We draw the horizontal 1 stroke first, followed by the feathered broomstick-like stroke through it. We finish it off with the dot inside. Originally, this kanji was used for village, with the modern version being adopted much later. The historical version looks kinda like a dude on the right holding onto their giant greatsword on the left, ready to protect his village. Like Braveheart or something. Frida! The modern version uses tree on the left for meaning, and small measurement on the right to get its Chinese reading of som. One explanation said that the tree indicates people living among the shade of trees, which you would expect in a small village, more than in a town. Our story follows along those lines as well. A village, as opposed to a town, is nestled in the trees with little plots measured out among them. So remember, more trees and space in village, with more street signs in town. Hopefully that will help a little. Hit the like button if it did, and hit the like button if it didn't. Sorry that in the middle of every lesson I have to give a call to action asking you to like and subscribe, because this video lives inside of YouTube and I have to follow the rules or it gets kicked out or something. Anyway, this kanji means middle, and sometimes inside, but we're going with middle. The official radical for this kanji is staff. I think that's a first, actually. The parts are mouth and staff. To be fair, though, a very flattened out mouth. There are 4 strokes in middle. We start with the mouth part. The first vertical line on the left should be a bit shorter than what you're used to when just drawing mouth. We then make the top of the upside down L stroke quite long, with the right side matching the first vertical stroke. We then close that mouth up and stick a staff straight through it. The historical versions of this kanji represented here were originally 2 different kanji, with the frilly one being a pictograph of a flagpole carried at the middle of an army going into battle, and thus meaning in the middle or center of things, while the circle one with the line through it indicated something passing through the inside of something else, thus indicating the meaning of inside, which is still another meaning of this kanji today. Eventually, they were combined, and then we got this unknown here, as in the Pokemon unknown. On a side note, maybe it's just me, but the earliest version of this kanji looks like a person with their hands waving over their heads, casting a spell on the person on the right or something. The person on the right is getting their arm shoved back by said spell. For our story, we've got a wise man's staff shoved right down the middle of a mouth. Oof, poor little guy. You can see it inside of its mouth there. Even though I seem to be hopelessly infected with the pun bug, I could not come up with a pun for this kanji. I mean, it means insect. Could you come up with a pun for that one? Let me know in the comments. The official radical for insect is insect, but we can break it down into middle, a 1, and a dot. There are 6 strokes in insect. We start with the mouth part from middle and cut the staff right down through it. This is essentially a full-on middle kanji with parts added below. We then draw a 1 stroke attached to the bottom of middle, though angled up to the right even more than usual for a 1 stroke. Finally, we attach the dot to the right end of that 1 stroke, giving us our insect. Historically, this is technically divided into 2 different kanji, just like middle. One is just this, and it meant poisonous snake, specifically a pit viper. The other version is technically 3 of these put together, with the single one being an abbreviation. This one was used to more generally represent lots of small animals and reptiles, which included insects as well, I guess. For our story, we've got, this is apparently a pictograph of a poisonous snake. We're going to imagine a swarm of insects bursting from its mouth, its tail curled around beneath it like a worm, rattle on the end. Ugh. Which brings us to the Lesson 21 quiz. In this section of the video, I'll show you a flashcard with the English meaning for a kanji. Pause the video when we show each card and try to remember how to write that kanji. Next, write it on your hand with your finger or on a piece of paper. Then press play and see if you were right. The best way to remember kanji you just learned is to search your memory for the story we taught you, or the one you made based on the English word on the flashcard. Our first card is what? Next is insect. Just a few more. Here's village. And then there's middle. Finally, we have town. Let us know how many you got right down in the comments. You can learn the next 5 kanji by clicking here, if the video is already out. If you don't want to wait, you can continue learning with our Level 1 Kanji Flashcard deck for ANKI on ToKiniAndy.com. We're also releasing kanji series videos early for all the members there, so check it out if you want a head start.